Hello YouTube, we are just down here in my basement and I am going to pull out my elephant-ear taros. After talking with a fellow YouTuber there, I decided that maybe it's time I check on these guys and pot them up for the spring, give them an early head start. So I'm going to bring these up to see what we have here. I have 5 tubers altogether from elephant-ear taros. Let's see if I can find other ones. Well, I found 3. That's a start anyways. Those ones look like they might be the elephant ear there. There's a 4. And a 5. So I decided to store these 2 different ways just so I don't have all my eggs in one basket. Some of them I took right out of the ground and I just basically hacked them back and decided just to store their tubers in boxes of peat moss. The ones that I did that with definitely look a little bit rougher than the ones that I dug out of the ground and threw in a bucket with still a little bit of green left on them and some peat moss. So let's have a look and see what we can come up with here. I'll clean these up and then show you what we got. Alright, we're back. And what I've done is I took all the dead scraps and crap off all of the bulbs just to see what we have here. And this is the one that was stored the driest. I'm holding the original bulb, and I guess last year it grew 3 new bulbs off the top. Moving on to ones that are a little bit moister. We actually have a little bit of green still on this one from last year. So that's a good sign. I think that one will sprout right away. The original bulb is down here, and you have 2 sprouting bulbs. This one was kept even a little bit moister. And it has 3 good sized bulbs on it, and they look like they're raring to go. I'm still just picking off little bits of dehydrated and rotten pieces. Now we move into this guy. This one was stored quite wet. I watered him a few times this winter. Definitely the best so far. Good roots still on it. Some tubers coming off, going sideways even through the dirt. Probably trying to look for greener pastures, we'll say. I do notice the tip there has got a little bit of rot on it. So what we'll probably do is cut that right off and spray it with a fungicide. And then on to the last one here. This one was stored almost fully planted. I even kept a few leaves on it as long as I could during the winter. And it's got one little leaf ready to uncurl here. And a great big stalk on it still. A little bit of mush at the top that'll have to be cleaned off. But all in all, it doesn't look too bad. What I've got is a garden fungicide that I'm just going to spray on anywhere that looks like it might be a little soft or have potential for some fungus. So I'm going to do that and be right back. Alright, so just finished spraying those up. Not soaking wet, but just damp. And they should be ready to be planted now. So what I've done ahead of time is I pre-mixed a 50% potting soil, 50% peat moss mix, and I have 5 good sized containers. These are going to be large elephant-ear taros, so we want to give them a good head start in the greenhouse. These are at least probably 3-gallon buckets that I've got for each one of them. And so we'll start with the small one. Now, with one that's smaller like this, you don't want to bury it too far under the ground. So, let's just take and put this down here. Just because the pot is taller doesn't mean I actually have to fill the pot up to the top either. So I'm going to throw them in the ground, and I'm actually going to keep the tips just exposed. It's going to be a very shallow planting for this guy. Something about like that. So there's 1 tip, 2 tip, 3 tips. And that was the smallest one, so now moving on to this guy here. He's got a few extra roots that we'll put back in. Some of the roots feel a little dry, others that were still touching the soil, especially as you get into the ones that had more soil, are still quite healthy. So again, same thing here. We're just going to cover it up just like so. Oh, one more handful. So the main tip is now exposed, and there's a little other tip right there. It's hard to see in the video shot though. I did prepare a few of these buckets ahead of time, knowing that we would have to do this. So, in with the third one, I'm going to finish up on that, and then I will be right back to show you what's next. Alright, magic of YouTube, those are all potted up now. So we have 5, and you know, they all look in pretty good shape. You can definitely tell the ones that I did dry, they're barely growing at all, and the ones that had more moisture, more dirt all through the winter, even though there's no light down here, they're actually not doing too bad. So what I'm going to do now is probably bring those up to the greenhouse, and I'll just sit them on the floor in there. It was a balmy 85 degrees in the greenhouse today. The sun came out for a little bit, so that's the first day it's got above 80 in the greenhouse. And once they're upstairs, I'll show you them out in the greenhouse and ready to go. Alright, out of the basement and into the sunshine. There is the 5 elephant-ear taros. And I just got to make some space in the greenhouse here. It's still bubble wrapped up for the winter, but when we go inside, I think I'm going to throw them down on the bottom shelf there. I see a little bit of room behind those plants, so that's where they're going to live. And if you look up here with the temperature, well, the sun's starting to go down, so it's only 78 in here right now, but you know, I just have to take my word for it that it did make it to 85 degrees. And there we go. So now you've seen how I store my elephant-ear taros for the winter, how to clean them up, defungicide them, and repot them back up and get them ready for spring. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, and be sure to subscribe to see some updates on how these guys are doing. Bye for now. There we go. I just gave them a quick drink, and we'll check on them in a month or so. Stay tuned.